Welcome everyone to the all-important clash for the third place between Yakubboev and Andrey Esipenko. What an important game we have on our hands here. Both of them lost the semi-finals. Andrey Esipenko had a brutal loss there against Wei Yi in a close to winning position. He made a couple of bad moves and blundered a rook and lost his game. Meanwhile, Yakubboev lost to his countrymate Javokir Sindarov. We are now ready for the battle. Andrei is will have to play really well to come back from his very tough loss where he blundered the entire rook. It's not easy mentally, when you've done that. And the players are ready. A handshake and off we go. Andrei opens the game with pawn to e4. And Yakubboev responds with the Sicilian, a fighting opening. A very interesting choice. I believe Yakubboev feels that today is the day when he must strike, as Esipenko is a little bit down. Knight to f3. And you have knight to c6 played. Well, most of the top level games these days are going with the Rosolimo with bishop b5. Will Andrei also play it? No, he goes for the open Sicilian with d4. Now pawn takes pawn. We have knight takes d4. And black plays knight to f6. The knight comes out attacking the pawn on e4. We have knight to c3 defending it. And now e6 played. He could have also gone e5, but knight takes c6 taken by Andrei. If knight b5 would have gone into a Sveshnikov, but takes, pawn takes. And this line is very interesting because with e5 you are already clamping down on this structure. Knight to d5, and here he plays his knight to e4, making way for the c pawn to come up ahead with c4, and also looking at this weakness on d6. So bishop b7 played and bd3. Now the thing is here, bishop b7 move is slightly lesser known than directly playing queen c7. This is more common and the main line. But bishop d3, queen to c7, and Esipenko pushes his pawn to f4. The knight jumps to b4 here. You can see Yakubboev has 1 hour 16 minutes on the clock. You can move your bishop back to e2. You can also castle here and give up your bishop on d3. Curious to see what Andrey Esipenko does here. He comes back after a couple of minutes, bishop to e2. c5 is played on the board, opening up the bishop, attacking the knight. And Andrei goes bishop to f3, defending the knight on e4. Maybe c4 is an interesting move here. But he plays his bishop to d5, not the best of ideas here, because c3, knight c6, castles, and then knight d6 becomes a big threat with the idea of taking on d5. He castles first. And here black plays bishop to e7. This is where I think white has a very big chance now. Pawn to c3, kick the knight away. Andrey Esipenko has got an excellent position right out of the opening. Close to winning, one could say. And that is not common at this level. Knight c6, and now this move. Knight to d6 check. Bishop d6. If you take with the queen, there's c4. And if bishop f3, rook f3 with the idea of f5. But he doesn't go for this move, knight d6. He goes bishop e3, and he gives Yakubboev the chance to castle, which is good news for black. Now white, he brings his knight back to g3, Andrey. And maybe he's trying to build up something on the king side. Knight h5, rook f3, rook g3, put pressure here. The queen could enter in. And this pawn on e5, of course, gives white a lot of chances for an attack. Takes. He takes with the queen. And now a very logical move is f5, trying to stop the white pawn from advancing. Black plays pawn to d5 and has a very strong center. Maybe pawn takes d6 is the right move. If you don't do that, then black is doing completely fine. So Andrey takes on d6, bishop takes on d6. Now knight e4, just bringing the knight into the game could be a nice idea. He plays pawn to f5, gaining space and trying to go for the attack here with f6. Yakubboev actually now going towards the g3 knight. He wants to chop it off, takes it. Bishop takes g3. And I mean, you can take with the queen. You can also take with the pawn. That's also interesting actually. This position takes here. Queen takes f5. Can lead to very, very complex situations. But Andrey takes with the queen. And actually Yakubboev can be happy that he won't get mated. But he has to worry about his isolated c pawn. Pawn comes up to c4, clamping down. And Andrey takes on e6. F takes on e6. F e6. So at this point the material is even. But if you look at it, black pawns are a bit more weak with this c4 and e6 pawns being isolated. White's doubled pawns don't look pretty, but somehow it's difficult to attack them. So rook takes, rook taken. And rook takes f8. So at this point black is doing fine. Should be a draw with accurate play. Andrey brings his rook to d1. Maybe the best way to continue here is rook b8, knight e5, knight d3. I think that makes a lot of sense. He does play it, rook to b8 on the board. And rook to d6. The rook attacks the knight on c6 and also the pawn on e6. He goes knight to e5. And well, he takes the pawn. And now many moves here. Knight g4, knight d3. I think Yakubboev has enough in the position to keep the equality. Andrey goes back, bishop c1. He's like, I'm a pawn up. I go back. I'll defend the pawn on b2. And in comes rook d8. Now keep an eye on the time for Yakubboev. He has just 6 minutes left on the clock. And he has to make 13 more moves. Not easy. Not easy at all. King comes to f1. Well, you have to go rook d1 check. But first goes king f7, which is a fine move. You are attacking the rook here on e6. Objectively, the position is just equal. Andrey comes back, rook e2. And now the move, rook d1 check, rook e1 and rook d3. Putting pressure here, but instead he goes rook d5. He wants to move with rook f5 check or rook h5 and try to come in from here. And we have king to e1 played here by Esipenko. And knight to e5. jumps in, and this is slightly inaccurate because b3, a beautiful move by Andrey. He's not afraid of this check. He's ready to move into the line of fire with his king on d1. Look at this. If you go knight f4, I can block with rook d2 and I'm completely fine. And Yakubboev plays h5, and this is not a great idea because now just bishop moves out from c1. And bishop d2, he plays the bishop to d2. Suddenly white has a huge advantage. He's going to play king c2, he's going to take the pawn. He goes rook a5, putting pressure on the a2 pawn. And now this very nice move, bishop e3 by Esipenko. Pawn to a6. The combination of not having time and a very bad position is pushing Yakubboev to the limit here, and Esipenko now recognizes that he can actually take the pawn on c4. Yes, he takes it. B takes c4 taken, and now just the idea is king here and win this knight. Rook e5. Oof, it's not a great move. Bishop d4, very powerful because king takes. Look at this line. Bishop d4, king takes, knight c1, king d2, knight a2, king c2, and you trap the knight. He finds it. He plays bishop d4, a great move by Andrey Esipenko. The rook has to move. He plays rook g5 and king comes to c2. Rook takes pawn, and now for a very important final move to seal the deal, which is bishop e3. He takes, and the knight is trapped. If knight e5, you have bishop f4 winning, and in case of rook takes g2, you go king d3. Not rook g2 because of knight e1, but king d3 wins. So bishop e3, very powerful move, trapping the knight. You can see nowhere to go, and Yakubboev resigns. Andrey Esipenko scores the first blood in this third place match at the FIDE World Cup. A super critical win because the winner of this match gets a spot in the candidates. So everything to play for. One person will go back home without any spot, and this is very, very important. Now Yakubboev will have to strike with the white pieces tomorrow. Not at all easy, but kudos to Andrey. After such a heartbreaking loss against Wei Yi yesterday, he came back with a victory here. Shows his mental fortitude here as he puts back all his pieces. Tomorrow, he just needs a draw to move to the candidates and get the third place in this tournament.